couple of days, including today. For Rubio, he's testifying before the Senate for a second day, all right? And we're going to talk about it now with Paul Rieckhoff, who's the host of the Independent Americans podcast and joins me here in New York. So it's one of, we watched a lot of what he said yesterday. I want to play one more clip from today because this gets to get the conversation back to the war. This idea, is there still a war going on, right? Here's the exchange on that topic with Rubio as part of his 2 days of Capitol Hill testimony. Take a listen.
We're taking you at your word. The war is over. Who won?
It's a fact. We're no longer conducting sustained strikes inside of Iran to degrade their military because epic fury is over. We defined victory as destroying their defense industrial base, significantly reducing the number of missile launchers that they possess, significantly reducing their stockpile of drones, and we achieved all of those, in addition to destroying what they had left of an air force and wiping out their entire conventional navy.
Now, of course, if you're not at war, you don't have to have Congress, authorize your quote-unquote war, but that's the answer he's been giving. So what do you make of it?
Iran hit the Kuwaiti airport in the last 24 hours. Putin's slamming into Ukraine. There's an Ebola outbreak in Africa. The World Cup's about to start in 11 days, and Trump just nominated a head of D&I who has no intelligence experience. This is what our summer is going to look like. And it looks dangerous, it looks unstable, and I think you've got some grandstanding happening from senators, but I think Rubio is trying to put a lid on this, and the lid is blown off. I mean, there's a lot of threats, and there will be increased threats in the homeland as the World Cup and other things, America 250, unfold.
Right.
I think we're dealing with a very unsafe summer that doesn't look like it's getting better.
Some of what you brought up there actually brings me to the point I talked to Lauren and Antoine, who were on in our first segment, about some of this, that the president for the first time might be treated as a true lame duck, and how his own party handles that. We've seen that with the anti-weaponization fund. We've seen that a little bit with the D&I story, I think. Whether they turn on him, the Bill Pulte story, with the war, we might see it next hour. There's a war powers vote. What about I feel like it's a different political dynamic we're about to enter into, or maybe you have already entered into.
I think that's true. He's far from a lame duck. I mean, he hasn't really cared what Congress has said anyway over the last couple of years.
Yeah, but they have. Yeah, I mean, they've cared because
right.
They've had the incentive to care, but now I'm wondering if that's changed because we get past midterms, whether they...
I think the war in Iran has been a breaking point in a lot of ways. So has the tariffs, which are extremely unpopular. And he's also turned on Republicans like Cassidy and others who are now free to oppose him. So I do think we're getting to a new place where Republicans are standing up to Trump. The fact that they shot down and pressured him into dropping the $1.8 billion slush fund for insurrectionists, I mean, that is a change. And I think we're entering a new normal. The question is, will they stop him on Cuba, for example? That might be the next dividing line. Will they actually stop his defense budget, which is $1.5 trillion? We'll see.
They might vote against him next hour on Iran in the war powers vote. It wouldn't necessarily matter. I understand that. But it might matter politically, even if it doesn't matter in terms of, he would veto it.
I think it does, right? And the people to watch are folks like Susan Collins, who's up for re-election against now a populist Marine, and Graham Pletner, who's been, having some problems, but still challenging her in other ways. And I think you're going to see, especially congressional Republicans, start to break with him who are in close races where they feel the pressure, especially on gas prices, because that's a big one. He hasn't solved gas prices, and until he does, I think you're going to see increased pushback from Republicans.
That's another thing that's coming. Let's talk about that, because Bessent is also testifying today, the Treasury Secretary. And by the way, the Democrats have their own problems. You brought up Pletner. I think that's one of their problems. If they're trying to go +4 with that guy running, that's not a great candidate. Here's Scott Bessent on the affordability struggles, the Treasury Secretary, in his testimony. Here's how he handled it.
Except for inflation, which is, I believe, going to be a short-term blip. The economic data is very strong. The jobs data has been very strong. The manufacturing ISM has been very strong. Americans are paying 2.5% more for groceries since President Trump took office, which is half the annual amount under Biden administration.
We're not talking about Biden. We're talking about this administration and its promise to lower costs and the fact that this president says he doesn't care.
So, there's a lot there, obviously.
Yeah, that was fun.
The simplest way to look at it, I think, is almost in the context of the Biden administration. Very similar at the end of the Biden administration, saying, all right, these numbers are better, and then the people saying, we don't feel it. I mean, it's just the same theme, different party, different president, seems to me at least.
I think that's exactly right. I think Bessent is really bad at his job. He's trying to sell this, and it's not working. And I think he could be on the hot seat next. He could be somebody that Trump will fire and try to make a change because it's not working. It's not landing with most Americans. They don't believe that the economy is better no matter what the stock market says. Gas prices, diesel prices, the expense of food, childcare, all that is up, and people are feeling it. They're especially going to feel it in the summer. And it is like Biden. I think Biden really disconnected from the American public. He said, don't worry, the economy is getting better. You're just not seeing it. We know what we see. We know what we feel. And right now it feels tough, and it feels like it's getting tougher.
That's funny you say that about Bessent, because my feeling, you talk to a lot of people like on Wall Street, for example, this is the guy they point to and like, and they feel like he knows his stuff. He was very, very successful in the private sector. He knows markets very well. Yeah. You're making a different point. You're saying that he doesn't get the normal person? Or
yeah, I mean, the guys on Wall Street aren't going to vote in Maine and determine whether or not Susan Collins is back. They're not going to vote in Nebraska, where we've talked about Dan Osborne and other independents who are making good progress. Montana is another one that I think is now in play for an independent to take on a Republican. I mean, Wall Street's not calling the shots when it comes to public opinion, and I think working class people in this country feel like the game is rigged. They feel like they're getting screwed, and they feel like it's not getting better.
You think that way of going after Republicans with independents, or in some cases Democrats, like I had Kevin Kiley on yesterday from California. He left the party, Republican Party, become an independent. He's running. He made an interesting point at the end of the interview. He said something like, I said, who are you going to caucus with? He's caucusing with Republicans because he says they elected me until the end of his term. But next term, he said, I'd like to be able to caucus with nobody.
That's a strong position.
But he's like, I want to, the rules would have to change.
That's a strong position and popular. I think you're seeing that in the LA mayor's race because Spencer Pratt is running against the Democrats. He's running against all of it. Right. And I think that's what people want is populists who are running against the entire system, the Democrats and the Republicans, Karen Bass and Donald Trump, run against all of it and run for the working people who feel like the whole system needs to be changed. Right. And I think you're going to get traction. That's what we see in LA right now. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that LA, man, that's an interesting place. They're still counting out there, but that LA mayor's race is interesting for a lot of those reasons. Stuff we talk about all the time. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, sir.
Nixon 7.
I hope Nixon 6. I hope Nixon 4, but who knows?
Nixon anything.
And I hope all the politicians will stay away from the Nixon Spurs. Too many of them have already gotten involved. Can we just watch basketball in peace without the politics, please?
You don't want those memes?
No, all right. No more memes.
All right, Rieckhoff. Yeah, it's a big story here in New York, I'm telling you. All right, we'll take a break. Kuwait and Saudi Arabia condemning Iran for the